Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Herts and Essex open evening for the month of June. Thank you for joining us in this sweltering weather. We hope that we'll be able to just give you a little bit of an insight of what our clinic is all about and like, and some of the treatments that we can offer you. A little agenda for you, except it's not. Oh, there we go. So this is your welcome. I'm going to go through a presentation. The presentation will comprise of a little bit about us, a little bit about some of the treatments we offer. I will take you through a little bit of a treatment journey and what you can expect. We have live Q&A going on throughout this, so please type any questions, and my colleague Jackie will be answering those. And we also have a virtual show round of the clinic. We have a nice video to give you an idea of what our clinic looks like. Okay, so this is myself and Jackie. We are your team for presentation and questions tonight. So Jackie's will be typing furiously away to answer any questions that you have. I will also join in with some questions afterwards if you still have any remaining. So a little bit about us. Herts and Essex has been around since 1989. Which gives us quite a lot of experience. Many of us have been there for a good proportion of those 36 years, and in that time we've produced over 8,000 babies. Although we're not a large clinic, all of the procedures are performed under one roof here, and the clinic was designed and built for the purpose of a fertility clinic rather than being converted from another use. So services provided, we provide a full range of services from fertility assessment. So if you're just beginning to think about your fertility journey, we do some gynecological screening, and right the way through treatments up to surrogacy, egg donation, and whatever treatment you have, if you're lucky enough to be successful, we take you right up to a pregnancy scan at 10 weeks if you would like it. So fertility assessment I mentioned. These really are for people just right at the beginning of their journey, just to see where you're at. They're packages of investigations basically, and they come in the form of investigations for couples, for a female fertility assessment and a male fertility assessment. And they include investigations such as a 3D ultrasound assessment of the uterine cavity. So here you can see this is what we call a saline scan. The black stuff is the fluid and saline, and this uterus has a nice polyp in it. So we can find things like that. Polyps are harmless, but they can stop embryos implanting. So it's important to be aware of those. Hycosia is a similar procedure. So both of them are procedures where a small amount of fluid, so in this case saline, for a hycosia it's different contrast, then that one will go around and test the fallopian tubes as well. So that is part of the female fertility assessment that we offer. We also have, I think I've missed one. Oh no. Male fertility assessment includes semen analysis, and a call with the embryologist to discuss the results. You can have a couple one with those combined, the female fertility assessment with the scan and some bloods that I've just discussed. They all include a conversation with the doctor to discuss the results, but not a full consultation. It's really important that you are fit for fertility. It's something very important that we encourage. So certainly at the stage when you're thinking about your fertility assessments, it's also important to think about your fitness for fertility. So we have a separate website called Fit for Fertility that's linked to our main website. You can access it from our main website, and there's just some suggestions about, you know, how to get yourself in the best possible health for conceiving. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a treatment pathway. This will be a treatment pathway for an IVF treatment. I appreciate not everybody's at the stage of wanting IVF, but it gives you parts of it along the way for whatever treatment you decide that you have. So initially, we, once you've booked your consultation, send you some information online. We have a platform called Fertility Consents, and there all your consent forms that we require at each stage are uploaded for you to complete. So we send you the login details, and we do ask that you complete your forms prior to your appointment. And you'll be asked to upload your passports and also bring those with you. And also, really importantly, any relevant investigations. So when people come to us, you all come to us at different stages. We may be the first port of call. You may have had some investigations with your GP and have some results. You may have had treatment elsewhere. All of it is very important for us, for the building blocks that we're all unique, that make us enable to tailor your journey to be the right one for you. So anything that you've had done before, as long as it's in date, and usually we want sort of any investigations to be within a year. Anything that is within a year or that you've had done before, we will ask you to bring along or upload. We also do have an app. So during your treatment, we have an app called Salve, and that allows you to communicate with us securely. You can upload some of those investigation documents onto that. That's a good way, safe way of sending documents. But also during your treatment, it allows you to communicate with us. It gives you medication reminders when to take it. So it's a really useful aid alongside your treatment. The consultation appointment that you booked, so initially you'll come into the clinic. This is a nurse-led appointment for pre-assessment. So we will do some general observations to make sure you're fit and healthy. We will take some blood to assess for the egg provider, the AMH level, which is anti-Müllerian hormone, and it will assess the reserve of eggs in your ovaries, and also thyroid function, which is very important for pregnancy and carrying a pregnancy. We also measure BMI. There is a requirement at this clinic that your BMI is below 34 to have a sedation with us, and that's purely because we're a standalone clinic and we don't have the backup of a big hospital. So that's our anaesthetic, our anaesthetist requirements. And we'll also produce a semen assessment. We'll ask the sperm provider to produce a semen assessment also if you have a male partner. The consultation appointment is an hour. It's with one of our consultants. Mostly it's done via Teams like this. Mostly it's done online. A lot of people prefer it that way, although it is possible to do that in person. The doctor will go through your full medical history at that point, talk through results and outline a plan for you moving forwards, whether that involves treatment or not, or they may tell you to try naturally if that's applicable. So it's just to make a plan that's individual for you. If you're going to have treatment in the clinic, it's mandatory to have blood screening. It's required for all patients, and we need to screen you for HIV, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, chlamydia and gonorrhea. Additionally, we will have already taken blood for the anti-Müllerian hormone, which is the egg reserve, and for the egg provider and uterus providers, so who's going to carry the pregnancy. We do rubella, full blood count, and HB electrophoresis, which detects any abnormal hemoglobin within your bloods. When you're having a first-time treatment within the UK, the results must be valid within 3 months of starting the treatment, and they either need to be carried out with us or through a UCAS accredited laboratory. If you've had previous treatment within the UK, your results will be valid for 2 years. So a treatment that is often a starting place is intrauterine insemination, or IUI as we referred to it, and it's a procedure that's probably as close to nature as possible. We prepare a concentrated sperm sample, be that of donor sperm or of partner sperm, and that is timed to be introduced into the womb, and it's used for various reasons where eggs and sperm can't meet naturally, and is often, as I say, the first step. But I said I'm going to take you through a pathway for IVF. Some parts of it will be relevant for whatever treatment you have. So everything starts with day one of your period. So pretty much whatever you're having done within the clinic, we ask you to call us on day one, and we book you in for an ultrasound scan. That ultrasound scan is usually between day one and day three. And once we've done that scan and assessed you will be given a drug called follicle stimulating hormone, and that encourages the ovaries to grow multiple follicles rather than just the one that it would do each month. It continues throughout the treatment, so you would expect a stimulation timeline to be approximately 2 weeks. So you'll continue with that, and it stops 2 days before egg collection. Side effects wise, most people don't get lots of side effects, but particularly as you get towards egg collection, you'll find that you may feel very bloated, and you can get some headaches, mood swings, breast tenderness, basically exaggerated symptoms of your normal menstrual cycle. The next scan, I think some of my things are going behind. Sorry, technical issues. You'll then come back for 2 further scans during the treatment process. On the second scan, we will start a second drug called Cetrotide, or there's an alternative drug called Ovomex that it may be. And this basically prevents your body naturally releasing the eggs that we are growing, the follicles that we are growing. So this here is a ovary approximately sort of halfway through stimulation. Each of these black spaces are follicles, which are fluid-filled sacs. And during your scans, we will be taking cross-section measurements of each follicle, and when they reach appropriate size, so when your lead ones reach a big enough size, that tells us that we should be able to collect mature eggs from you. We will also be assessing the lining of your endometrium during each scan. So this is an example of a lovely lining. This is the cervix and this is the fundus of the uterus, and the endometrium is going up there, and this is what we're looking for, a nice triple line endometrium. So on your final scan, and this may be on your 3rd scan, it may be on your 4th, sometimes it's on the 2nd. Every woman's different, just like the length of your cycles are different. So is the length of stimulation. So it's approximately 14 days, which mimics a natural cycle, but it can be either side. So please don't worry if you have more or less scans. But at that final scan, it will determine the date and time of your egg collection. We give you a lot of information at this time. We do write it down and take it home with you. And we'll give you a specific time to take what we call the trigger injection, and that is timed specifically 36 hours prior to your egg collection. So for example, if we were having an egg collection at 9 o'clock on Monday morning, we would be asking you to take your trigger injection at 9 o'clock on the Saturday night. So egg collection. On the day of egg collection, you will be admitted to the recovery bay. So we've got a nice recovery bay. You'll see it on the video at the end, with four bays. We admit you as if you were having any procedure. We take baseline observations, blood pressure, pulse, temperature. If you have a male partner, who's providing a fresh sample on that day, that is arranged and prepared. The sedation is given. We have work with consultant anaesthetists, so it will be a consultant anaesthetist who gives you that sedation and monitors you throughout the procedure. It's a fairly quick procedure, about half an hour, and you'll then be an hour or so to recover. It's all a fairly quick thing, so you'd expect to spend maybe 2 to 3 hours here before you're discharged, once you've had something to eat and drink. So I'm now going to talk to you about what happens in the lab behind the scenes, which is the exciting bit where all the magic happens. So day 0, this is a timeline that we use within the lab, and we do refer to these days. So day 0 is egg collection. And that's what we see. And I'm going to take you through what happens in the laboratory all the way up to day 6. So on day 0, if you were having an egg freezing cycle, that is the day that we freeze your eggs. So we use egg freezing increasingly to preserve fertility for various reasons. You can store eggs for up to 55 years now, in quite recent times. And we do a lot of fertility preservation because of social reasons, but also because of early menopause, for cancer diagnosis, surgery, and we always provide counselling alongside this. So if you are having egg freezing, your eggs will be frozen on day 0, and that will be the end of your treatment cycle, because you'll know how many mature eggs you have for freezing. If we are introducing sperm to the eggs and creating embryos, we will inseminate them. We can inseminate either via IVF, which is where the sperm and egg are mixed together in the incubator, and we let them fertilize themselves. And this is generally where there is no history of abnormal sperm semen analysis, so that where the sperm is normal. Quite often, and increasingly often, the sperm might need a little bit of help. So if we have low sperm parameters, be that count, how it swims, whether the sperm itself is abnormal, whether there's no sperm in the ejaculate, whether we have MAR positive sperm, which is where we have anti-sperm antibodies, meaning the sperm will clump together rather than swimming freely, or whether you've had previous failure to fertilize or low fertilization. All of these cases mean we would perform a procedure called ICSI, which is where we introduce a single sperm selected by the embryologist into the egg. And hopefully my video is going to work next, because I do have a video of that procedure happening to show you. Okay, so here you'll see, so the needle you can see on the screen is the width of a human hair. It's that small, so you can get the idea of how small sperm are. You can see the sperm in the sample, so here's a little one swimming along, and in a minute you will see the embryologist slash the tail of the sperm, which looks quite, that's the slashing of the tail, and that's to stop the sperm swimming away. So it means it can't swim anymore. All of the important stuff is contained in the head of the sperm. The tail merely helps it swim. So they suck that immobilized sperm up into that pipette. And then this is the human egg. So you can see the difference in scale between the egg and the sperm. The egg is actually the largest cell in the human body. And the embryologist will just gently, there you can see the little sperm down there, just gently break the membrane outside the egg. Initially, they'll draw back some of the constituents of the egg to mix it with the sperm, and then gently place it back into the center. And that's our ICSI procedure. Now, whilst it doesn't guarantee fertilization, because that egg still has to accept that sperm genetically, it gives it a good helping hand. Okay, we also have another method of insemination, which is called PICSI. PICSI is the same as ICSI in terms of the single sperm is introduced into the egg, but PICSI is used to come along to overcome when we have a sample with lots of immature sperm within it. So down the microscope, immature and mature sperm look the same to the embryologist. So if you have a high amount of immature sperm within your sample, there's a risk that the embryologist could select an immature sperm to inject into your egg, and this leads to much lower fertilization rates and also increased miscarriage rates. So on day 1, whichever method we have introduced the egg and the sperm, from here everything is the same. So on day 1 we're looking for a normally fertilized egg. Here is a normally fertilized egg. You can see these two little dimples in the middle. That's male and female DNA, and that shows that we've got the right amount of genetic material there to start to divide. Here we sometimes get, or quite often get, abnormally fertilized eggs, and this one's got 3 lots of genetic material, so that will never go on to produce a normal pregnancy. So at that stage we would discard those ones. And please bear in mind it's very normal throughout this process that the numbers drop, and that's natural selection. So you would expect sort of 60 to 70% of your eggs collected to fertilize. And then as we go on throughout these days, your numbers will drop, so that actually nature's giving you the information that you need to know what is going to be the embryo that's giving you a good chance of a pregnancy. Okay, on day 2, we have a nice 4-cell embryo, so those cells have divided and started to grow. By day 3, we'd expect 6 to 8 cells. We can transfer embryos on these days, and indeed traditionally we did only transfer embryos on these days. But we tend to nowadays only transfer on these days if we're limited in numbers, and we already know that we're, say you've got 2 eggs and 2 embryos, we know that we're going to transfer on that day. But mostly if we've got more, we like to know a bit more information so that we can know which is the right one to transfer. So we leave them in a bit longer. Day 4, this is what we call a compacting embryo. We never transfer embryos on day 4. Because it's so difficult to assess them, because they're going through this stage and all the cells merge together in order to hopefully by day 5 form a nice blastocyst, and that's what we aim to transfer. In order to create a blastocyst, that embryo needs to have started to make its own DNA. So up till day 2 and day 3, they're relying on parental DNA. Once they get to day 5 and they've made this stage, it's a good indicator that that embryo's got the right ingredients within it. So this is our most common day to transfer embryos. And if you have multiple fertilized eggs, so if you when they call you the day after your egg collection, mostly we'll be telling you that we're going to leave those embryos undisturbed, and we'll transfer on day 5, and we'll book your transfer at that point. On the day of embryo transfer, you get a photograph of your embryo to take away. We do also use something called embryo glue. It's offered to you, which is a transfer medium which mimics the conditions in the uterus, which can help implantation sometimes. We do also keep embryos to day 6. And on day 5 or day 6, we can do something called biopsy for PGT. So PGT is genetic testing of the cells in that embryo. There's 2 groups of cells in a blastocyst. These around the outside are the trophectoderm, which will form the placenta. This is the inner cell mass, which is going to go on to form the fetus. So when they biopsy an embryo, they take a few cells from those cells around the edge, which will form the placenta, and send them off to the laboratory. This can either be for a specific condition, to screen against a specific familial condition, or more and more commonly we screen for something called aneuploidy, which is just telling us whether that embryo has a normal chromosomal content. And this can be useful as women get older and they produce more abnormal eggs. And sometimes it can also be useful if you're a lady who has polycystic ovaries and produces many eggs and has lots of embryos, and it can be useful to pinpoint the correct one to transfer that gives you the most chance of success. And we also freeze embryos on day 5 or day 6. So if we were taking a biopsy for PGT, we would then need to freeze all of your embryos while we wait for those results to tell us which is the correct embryo. And often we have embryo freezing when a person makes too many eggs and has a risk of ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, we then choose to freeze all of the embryos, let the body recover and transfer on a natural cycle the month later. And we also freeze leftover embryos, embryos that are of good quality and surplus to your needs for that particular cycle. So this is our timeline. We're up to embryo transfer. After embryo transfer, we do provide extra progesterone, luteal support. We will, on the day of embryo transfer, measure your progesterone levels, and sometimes people need a little bit extra than our routine, so we'll provide that if that's needed. And we ask you to perform a pregnancy test 16 days after the egg collection. And we ask you to do a home test and let us know with the results. If you're lucky enough to have a positive result, we do offer an early pregnancy scan provision, I think, as I mentioned earlier on. So this is typically what a 7-week pregnancy scan would look like. And this is a 10-week scan. The 7-week scan is included in your treatment. The 10-week scan is an extra that you can choose to have or not. Alongside it, you can also choose to have something called a NIP test or not, which is a genetic test, which I think gives a 99 point something result on the 3 main trisomies, which are Downs, Edwards and Patau syndrome. And it also will tell you the sex of your baby at that point in time. Okay, so some of the services and provisions that we offer alongside, but also as part of IVF, so egg donation and sperm donation required for various reasons. We have our own egg and sperm bank. So there is generally no wait for eggs or sperm. And we also run a large surrogacy program. We've probably done more cycles than any clinic, or as many as any clinic. Even though we're a fairly small clinic, we've been dedicated to surrogacy really since 2012. So yeah, if you have any particular questions, then please pop those into the chat. And surrogacy can be required for various reasons. We also work with the NHS and offer funded treatment. It is all very area specific, so we are in partnership with 3 ICBs which are allowed to refer patients to us. They are Mid and South Essex, North Central London and North East London, and this your ICB is determined by the location of your GP and not your home address, so you'd be able to find the NHS the information on the NHS website about whether you would be eligible to come to this clinic. So just a bit of a view of what North East London, the areas that includes, so from Barking and Dagenham, Havering, Redbridge, Waltham Forest, City and Hackney, Tower Hamlets and Newham. Mid and South Essex, Mid Essex, Castle Point and Rochford, Basildon and Brentwood, Thurrock, Southend. And North Central London is Barnet, Camden, Enfield, Haringey and Islington. So if you're not fortunate enough to be to qualify for funding, we do try to support with some other funding options. We do offer egg and sperm sharing programs. So this is where, so for the egg share scheme, if you you donate half of the eggs collected from your treatment cycle, and that funds your cycle. If you become a sperm donor, you'll get the cost of an IVF treatment funded also. So there's ways of funding that are also brilliant because they get to help others at the same time, and everyone's in the same boat. We also have some funding options package wise. So we have 2 partners in terms of finance. So we partner with Access Fertility, Assured Fertility. Both of those have different packages available, not only for finance, but also things like pregnancy guarantee, so that you get a full refund if you can have a full refund, partial refund, depending on how many cycles, and if you don't take home a baby at the end of it. So they're definitely worth exploring. Wellness at Herts, we like to think this is something that we're really good at. It's something that we try really hard to support you throughout. I think we're a small enough clinic that during your treatment you will see most of us. We have a support group for patients, available. So yeah, hopefully you will get to know us and we will be able to support you through your journey as much as you need it. We also have counsellors, so you can have three sessions of counselling during your treatment cycle should you want it. So why us? So we've been around for a while. We know what we're doing. Importantly, we provide a 7-day-a-week laboratory service. So I talked to you about the timeline for the embryos and everything. And you can see that, you know, those embryos are going to be ready for transfer on day 5, whether that day 5 is on a Wednesday or a Sunday. And that means we need to be here to provide that service for you, which we do. We're not manipulating what day we transfer your embryos on. We have an electronic witnessing system, so everything gets tagged with a barcode, so we can't Mr. Smith's sperm and Mrs. Jones's eggs cannot be in the same place at the same time. We have made lots of families, and we do like to support you throughout your treatment. And yeah, free parking. We do have a car park. The spaces are quite small and sometimes limited, but we do have free parking. So we do value your feedback. I do ask, though, you will be sent a short survey by email tomorrow. If you would please give us your feedback, because that's the only way we can improve. Good, bad, or indifferent would be lovely. We are on social media. Please do follow us. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We have a YouTube channel and TikTok. If you want to book an appointment, we don't require a referral from a GP or anything. You can either call us, you can go to our inquiries line. We usually have fairly good consultation available within a couple of weeks. We definitely have within a couple of weeks at the moment. It's holiday season. And thank you for your time. I hope it's been informative. I hope you've gained some information from it. If you haven't, please do ask all your questions. We'll continue to answer the questions until there are no more. I am now going to play the video for you, so it gives you just a little tour of the clinic. Thank you for listening.